I'm back with part 2 of my video about the 7 questions that I asked myself when I finally got serious about freelancing. As a recap, although you should go back and watch the full video, the first 3 questions I asked myself were: 1, why am I finally getting serious about this? Why am I getting serious now? The second question, what area of communications will be my specialty? And the third question, what industry or sector am I going to focus on? Diving into question 4, what kind of clients do I prefer to work with? This is a really important question. There's a lot of different clients that you can work with, and every single one of them sort of has their pros and cons. I mean, you can do really big, large corporations versus small businesses versus startups versus nonprofit organizations or individuals. And each one sort of comes with a host of other things to consider in terms of what it is like working with that particular entity, what you can expect from a revenue perspective, what you can expect from sort of an hours and timing perspective, a lot of different considerations. That's why it's really important to ask this question. For me, my primary focus is on nonprofit organizations. I've done a little bit of startup work, a little bit of small business work, but I primarily focus on nonprofits. And that definitely has like an implication from a revenue perspective, from a funding perspective. It can be more volatile because a lot of nonprofits rely on grants and other sources of income that can change drastically from year to year. So there's something to think about, but it's fine as long as you plan for it, as long as you have put that thought in up front to understand what it means versus working with a really big company like a Walmart or a Facebook and what that's going to mean for you. So this is one of the really most important questions because it has a lot of implications. Question number 5 is, what are my revenue goals? And that's very simple. There's really no right or wrong answer to that or any of these questions, by the way. You may start out and decide like, I really don't need this to replace, a salary or, be fully sustainable for you yet. You may have a lot of savings or other supplemental income that you can rely on, at least at the beginning. Or you may say, look, I am trying to get to a point where this is my job. I'm making the exact same that I was making before or more. That's really, really, really important. For me, I was the latter. I was okay if I never quite matched my previous job salary, but that was my long-term goals. And I've actually exceeded my last job salary in just 2 years, which is crazy to think about. But that is something that is a really important question to ask up front because it's going to definitely govern how you work with clients in the future. So for me, I started out by really calculating my budget, getting very serious and realistic about how am I spending, what are my expenses in the beginning, where can I dial back if I don't bring in what I was hoping to bring in. So knowing your revenue goals up front is key so that you can make the right decisions in terms of the types of clients you're working with as well as what you're charging. Question number 6 is an interesting one. What size do I want my business to be? When it comes to freelancing and consulting, there is a very wide spectrum. You can be a total solopreneur, independent consultant that works you, yourself, and you, or you can build a small boutique team, or you may actually really be wanting to build your own agency with a quite large team. For me, I knew I wanted to stay solo dolo. I really just want to work by myself, team of one. And that is a huge decision because it really governs the type of work that I can take and can't take. There is some work that I'm like, I can't do this because it would require me to build a team, and I don't want to build a team. So that is like a huge, huge, huge consideration at the beginning because it will let you know what kind of work is possible as a person by yourself, or if you have just 1 or 2 other people or 10 people, or if eventually you're trying to get to 50 people, you have to know from the beginning what kind of business in terms of size are you trying to build? And last but not least, it's really important, question number 7, to ask yourself, what does my ideal day, week, month, and year look like? That is something that is invaluable to helping you know what kind of decisions you need to make in terms of freelancing. This is something you definitely need to write down and definitely need to think through it with a lot of detail. So for me, I said, what do I want my day to look like? I want my day to not be rushed. That was one of my biggest problems with my previous work life is I hate rushing, y'all. Like, I always want to move at my own pace. And as soon as I feel like I have to move fast, not I want to move fast, I'm over it. Like, I hate rushing. So for me, I needed a day that didn't require me to rush. I don't like rushing from task to task, rushing from meeting to meeting. Oh, I didn't get a chance to eat because I was working through lunch. I take lunch every day, y'all. I work from home and I go down to my kitchen and I eat lunch at my kitchen table for 30 minutes or however long, and then come back up here and finish working because I will not be rushed, okay? So you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself and be honest enough with yourself to have this kind of conversation with you to say, okay, how do I really want my day to be structured and to flow? No back-to-back meetings, period. And end of story. There are no back-to-back meetings on my calendar because to me, that is part of rushing. I don't want to rush from one meeting to the next. So that was sort of my thought process. Then what do I want my week to look like? A 4-day work week. I try as hard as I can. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I try as hard as I can not to work on Fridays. Then what do I want my month and my year to look like in terms of time off and vacation that I'm willing to take? I know that I don't want to have just a weekend here, a weekend there. I want to be able to take like a week or 2 weeks off. And so these are all the considerations. And look, you see that every answer had to do with like me being able to rest. Like, rest is very important to me at this stage of my life. I want to make sure that I can take the rest that I need so that I can be my best self. And so all of my answers, the theme throughout the answers is rest, moving at a slower pace, being able to take my time, being able to dig in deeper on one thing and not have to multitask. And all of these things come into play for what kind of decisions I make when it comes to working with clients. And if you ask yourself these same 7 questions, you will be able to do the same thing. And you might have completely different answers from me. There is no right or wrong way. It is simply the way that you have decided, and then making sure that you're making decisions that align with what you have previously determined. So if you are ready to do this, if you are ready to sit down and say, look, I need to ask myself these questions, I know that I'm getting ready to really embark on this freelance journey, go ahead, download this worksheet that I've created. It's a free fillable worksheet. You can go in, write down your answers. It is available at the link in my bio or in my caption, wherever you're watching this. And you can just put in your email address, download that form, and really sit down and have a reflective sort of work session on, this is what I want my freelance business to look like. As I go on making videos and putting things out on my channels, I will dig deeper into what happens next after you've filled out this worksheet and after you've made your decisions. Now what? So definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure you download the worksheet, and I will see you again soon.